Myself, herself, yourself, ourselves, himself. So these are few words which we come across, right? They are called pronouns. So as you know, we are currently learning about pronouns, right? So in today's class, we will be discussing about reflexive pronoun and emphatic pronoun. If you look at the board, I have written two sentences. She herself cut the vegetables and she cut herself. In both the cases, herself is acting as a pronoun apart from she. We know she is the personal pronoun which we have studied earlier, right? But before we understand the concept of emphatic pronoun and reflexive pronoun, आप सभी को सुष्मिता का प्यार भरा नमस्ते and welcome back to our new episode. Today we will be discussing about emphatic pronoun and reflexive pronoun. Let us look at these two sentences and then try to understand what is the concept behind this. If I see the first sentence, she herself cut the vegetable. What can I see? Herself is being used after the subject, which is she here, and it is basically emphasizing on the subject. Okay. Now, when you see the second sentence, she cut herself. Here also, she is acting as personal pronoun and herself is acting as a pronoun. What kind? That I'm about to tell you. So here, in this case, herself is basically emphasizing that the action of cut is being performed on the subject. Correct? Let us, get deeper and then try to understand one by one. So first we will be discussing about emphatic pronoun. E-M-P-H-A-T-I-C. Emphatic pronoun. So we have to understand, how emphatic pronouns can be used and how a sentence is formed. Now look at this sentence. I myself saw the child playing in the park. This is one example, right? So the function or the work of the emphatic pronoun is to emphasize the action of the subject. Okay? It is usually placed after the subject. Okay? And most importantly, if you remove the emphatic pronoun from a sentence, the meaning of the sentence will not change. It does not alter or change the meaning of the sentence. The essence of the sentence will remain the same. If we understand it through an example, I myself saw the child playing in the park. Here, myself is the emphatic pronoun. So, you know that myself is a pronoun. Now, whether it is emphatic or reflexive, because we saw the words which will both act as emphatic pronoun and reflexive pronoun, right? So, in this sentence, I, of course, is personal pronoun. Myself here is acting as a pronoun. Now, we have to understand how is it an emphatic pronoun. Number one, what is the action performed by the subject? I saw. The subject is seeing something. So here the word myself or the pronoun myself is emphasizing the action which is performed by the subject. It is emphasizing the action which is performed by the subject. Okay, see, I myself saw. So seeing is the action which is being performed by the subject and it is emphasizing on the action which is performed by the subject. Second point, it is placed after the subject. The subject in the sentence is I and it is placed after the subject to emphasize on the or to stress on the action of the subject. Clear? If you look at this, another example, she herself painted a picture. What was the action performed? Painting or painted, right? She is the subject. So she herself painted a picture. The action performed was painted. So here the pronoun herself is emphasizing the action which is being performed by the subject. Again, it is placed just after the subject. So emphatic pronouns are usually placed after the subject. Number one. Number two, they emphasize the action which is performed by the subject. Okay. And number three, see, even if you remove this emphatic pronoun from a sentence, it will not change the meaning of the sentence. Let's see, if I remove myself. I saw the child playing in the park. I saw a child playing in the park, or maybe I myself saw a child playing in the park. The meaning of the two sentences remains exactly the same. And here if you see, she herself painted a picture. Let me do some magic and remove this and look at the sentence. What is it? She painted a picture. So again, she herself painted a picture and she painted a picture. The meaning of both the sentence is exactly the same. Now coming to reflexive pronoun. Okay, see, the words remain the same: himself, herself, themselves, ourselves, yourselves. You just need to understand whether it is emphatic pronoun or reflexive pronoun. Now you're clear with the rules of emphatic pronoun. Let's dive into reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronoun. What is the function of reflexive pronoun? Remember, the words remain the same. But reflexive pronoun indicates, again, reflexive pronoun indicates the action of the subject on itself or for itself. Let me give you an example and you will understand. The cat licked itself. She cut herself. Now, what is the meaning of the sentence? The cat licked itself. She cut herself. Now we know in the first sentence itself is a pronoun and in the second sentence herself is a pronoun. How do we know whether it is emphatic or it is reflexive? See, the job of the reflexive pronoun is to indicate the action which is performed by the subject on itself or for itself. So if I say the cat licked itself, what was the action performed here? Licking was the action performed. Remember the verb. What was the cat doing? It was licking. So the action performed by the cat is licking. On whom is this action being performed? The action is being performed on the cat. So here the subject, the action is being performed on the cat. So the pronoun itself shows that the cat is licking itself, means the action is being performed on the cat. Okay. She cut herself. Okay. She was doing something and she got a cut. So she was doing something and the cut was inflicted on her, upon her by herself. You know, उसके खुद की वजह से उसे वो cut लग गया या वो चोट लग गई. So when I say she cut herself, which means the action of cutting was performed by the subject on itself or for itself. Okay, see, now you have to understand the second point. Number one, we know that what is reflexive pronoun. Now you have to understand the placement of the reflexive pronoun. You will see it is usually placed after the verb or after the action. Here the action was licking, so it was placed after the action of licking itself, right? Cut is the action of the sentence or the verb of the sentence or the action performed by the subject, right? So she cut herself. So it is usually placed after the verb. Number 3, if you remove the reflexive pronoun from a sentence, the sentence will not give you any meaning. Let us try this, okay? The cat licked. Let me do some magic and itself vanished. She cut herself, herself vanished. Now if you look at the sentence, the cat licked, it is an incomplete sentence. What did the cat lick? Did the cat lick something? So there is no complete information here. So here the reflexive pronoun itself plays a very, very important role in the structure of the sentence. And she cut. What did she cut? It's an incomplete sentence. आपको कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आएगा. So when I tell you she cut herself, आपको समझ में आया कि उसे खुद से एक कट लग गया है ना. वो जो 2 सेंटेंस हमने किए थे, she cut herself and she herself cut the vegetables. Let us examine those 2 sentences and try and understand the difference, right? She cut herself or she herself cut the vegetables or veggies. Fine. So here we see in both the sentence, she is the subject. Let's take the first sentence. She cut herself. Identify the action which is done by the subject. Here the action is cut, right? Cut is the action. In the second sentence also, cut is the action. Now if I see the first one, she cut herself, which means, as I told you, there has been a cut which has happened because of her. The action comes back on the subject. And in the second sentence, the action, the pronoun herself is emphasizing the action which is done by the subject. Now if I remove herself from here, she cut the veggies. So there is no change in the meaning of the sentence. So this way we could differentiate between emphatic pronoun and reflexive pronoun. Let us take few more examples to understand it better. So let us look at some examples. I have been, let me repeat, I have been looking after myself. So first we know that myself is the pronoun, right? Now whether it is emphatic pronoun or reflexive pronoun, how to understand that? Find out what is the action of the subject. Looking is the action, or it is the verb or the action in the sentence, correct? So looking, so you have already understood that reflexive pronoun is placed after the verb. So that gives us one confirmation. Great. So we have understood that, okay, it falls under the category of reflexive pronoun. Second, if I remove this, does the meaning of the sentence remain the same? I have been looking after. Does it make any sense? No, it doesn't make any sense because the sentence is complete. So point number 2, check. It is, if you remove it, the meaning, it will not give any meaning or sense. Point number 3, myself is basically, indicating the action which is being done by the subject on itself. So here, myself is directly on the subject and looking after is the action which is done on the subject. So it proves that it is reflexive pronoun. In the second sentence, I myself baked the cake. I know myself is the pronoun. Now whether it is emphatic or reflexive, action is baked, baking the cake, right? This is the action. Now see, it is placed after the subject. Point number 1 of emphatic, clear. It is usually placed after the subject. Point number 2, if I remove this, I baked the cake and I myself baked the cake, the meaning of both the sentences remain the same. So point number 2, check, check. Point number 3, what is the action? Baked, right? So here the pronoun myself is emphasizing the action which is being done by the subject. So correct, in this case, myself is acting as emphatic pronoun. Clear? Third, he burnt himself when he touched the candle. Let us look at the word, the pronoun himself. Now it is after the action or the verb which is burnt. Okay, if I erase this, he burnt when he touched the candle. आपको कुछ समझ आ रहा है? No, because it is giving you an incomplete meaning. Second point, check. Third, he burnt himself when he touched the candle. Here, himself is basically the reflexive pronoun. Why? Because the action of the subject which is burning is on the subject himself, right? Or itself basically. Here, so in this case, himself will be reflexive. Okay. Last one, the principal herself taught us the concept. The principal is the subject. Taught is the action or the verb. We can see the herself is placed just after the subject. Emphatic pronoun, checkpoint 1. Number 2, if I erase this, the principal taught us the concept. It's giving a complete meaning. So the core meaning of the sentence remains the same. So check point 2 clear. Number 3, the action the action taught and the pronoun herself is basically emphasizing the action of the subject, correct? Which is the principal herself taught the concept, correct? So this is the way that we need to remember and find out whether it is reflexive pronoun or emphatic pronoun. This was all about today. Keep learning, keep thriving, and keep watching our videos. Thank you so much.